You're listening to Coffee and Sports from Wire to Wire Sports Network on the National Streaming Sports Roku channel.
I'm walking through a ghost town, y'all ain't playing my sounds. Don't tell me to calm down, don't tell me to calm down. Only time I go backwards is when I wanna moonwalk. Don't test me, my mood's wrong, don't test me, my mood's wrong. We are who we say that we are. Yeah, we're lost in the stars, and it's all from the start. Never running no pace, never on the right page, but we still read that book, and we still run that race. Ay. Mississippi racer riding out, no shortcuts, no time for that. Mississippi racer riding out, till the wheels fall off, I'm driving that. Mississippi racer riding out, we'll stop burning, strike the match. Mississippi racer riding out, red light, green light, red light, good night. Ay. Red light, green light, red light, good night. 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 Time to chill, don't sweat it.
Good morning and welcome. It is Coffee and Sports. It is the morning show powered by Wire to Wire Network. Thank you so much for making us part of your morning routine. I am Chris, and of course, that over there, that is Mo. Mo, happy Monday, sir.
Happy Monday to you, partner, and everybody joining us.
Mo, hope you had a wonderful holiday season. Was it everything that you wished it would be?
That and more.
That's the answer you want to hear. That and more. Mo, we got a lot to get to this morning, but let's start with this. It is Monday, which means, Mo, for the first time since 1993, we are going to see WWE Raw not on the USA Network, because tonight kicks off the debut of Monday Night Raw on Netflix. Netflix will have Raw live tonight at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. It is basically a pay-per-view tonight, Mo. They have basically created a pay-per-view tonight for Monday Night Raw. The women's title, the world women's title, is on the line. Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan. Looks like that feud is going to get wrapped up finally. That's happening tonight. We got the tribal chief match tonight between Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. I don't know if you caught SmackDown on Friday, but Paul Heyman giving his promo. And then, by the way, props to Solo, who has gotten better on the mic. But Solo coming down and telling Paul that, you need to be the one ringside holding onto. I'm pause because I forgot what the damn thing is called.
I know what it's called. I don't know if I can pronounce it right. Is it the Uafala?
Yes, the Uafala. But Solo telling Paul he's got to be the one ringside holding the Uafala, because he is going to put it on the neck of whoever wins the match, whether it's him or Roman. Just freaking gold. The Rock is going to be there tonight, so obviously he'll probably have some sort of an impact on the outcome of the tribal chief match tonight. It's going to be a star-studded show. I personally, Mo, have not watched a Monday Night Raw in some time, because we talked about this before. Of all the many TV viewing options I have, cable is not one of them. I have all the streamers. Cable is not one of them. But I'm excited because I can actually watch Monday Night Raw now whenever I want to, because I have Netflix.
Right.
So I'm all in tonight.
Page.
I'm
all
on
the
in.
Same page. I'm with you. I haven't watched a Monday Night Raw in forever, because I'm like you. I have everything else but cable. So when I watch Raw or SmackDown, it's usually because I've watched a replay of it from another subscription. So the idea that Netflix has it now, I'm geeked. I'm excited for it. Matter of fact, Brett and I are going to do a watch along on the Meaty Boys podcast. So yeah, we are hyped for this. And yeah, when you mentioned that The Rock's going to be there, that Solo wanted Paul Heyman there at ringside. I'm still at the point in this bloodline feud where I'm like, we're just in the middle of this. Like we're in the middle of this. There's actually a build. If you can imagine, there is a bigger buildup to come to me in this feud. And I think The Rock plays a big role in that.
Also going on, it's 2025, Mo, which means tonight is the official kickoff of the year of John Cena. So John Cena is going to be on Raw tonight to kick off the start of his retirement tour. He's rumored to be doing somewhere between 60 and 70 shows this year, which means he's still part-time, but he's going to be around. We're going to see a lot of John Cena in 2025 as he wraps up his in-ring career. And Mo, I know this has a warm spot in your heart. Friday night on SmackDown, it was Tiffy time. Tiffany Stratton picking up the Women's World Championship, cashing in Money in the Bank, baby, and beating Nia Jax. I thought it was done very well, Mo. I thought it was done very well.
I did too. And you could see this coming from a mile away, right? I mean, it wasn't a secret.
It wasn't a shock.
Right. At best, her and Nia were frenemies. At best. But it's time. It's time that Tiffy gets elevated into one of the top stars in the WWE in the women's division. And I can't wait because she's going to be one of those kind of champions that I think you're going to love to hate, but she's going to win. She got that heat around her, and she's a terrific in-ring performer. So I was so excited to see her win. No offense. I think Nia had a really good run. But I think Tiffy's going to take it to another level.
And then, of course, the other big match tonight on Raw is CM Punk versus Seth Rollins. Yeah. They had a great promo to kind of wrap things up heading into the end of the week on Raw this past week. I don't know what to expect tonight with that match because, Punk's a little bit older. He's kind of gotten a bad rap the past year and a half or so for kind of getting tired during his matches, not having the endurance that he once had when he was a younger man. I think storytelling wise, they tear the house down. I don't know if it's a 5-star match as far as what happens inside the ring, but I think story wise, we are going to get quite a show from them too.
I agree. I think story wise, it won't be an issue. They're both incredible on the mic. They have a natural chemistry between them. And I don't know if we're going to get a 5-star match tonight, but what I will say, what I do believe is before this feud is over, we'll get one, maybe 2. I don't know if it's going to be tonight, but I think just the heat from them coming off of them is going to make for an entertaining match. And I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised if there was a run-in during that match.
Very interesting. All right, let's talk some NFL. It is Black Monday in the NFL mode. We got a lot of things to talk about. Let's start with my team because we're a freaking dumpster fire over here. First of all, yes, we lost to the New York Jets. All right, I get it. I hate the freaking Jets. But, Mo, at the end of the day, we needed 2 things to happen to make the playoffs as a Dolphin fan. One, we had to beat the New York Jets, which we didn't do. But we also had to have the Denver Broncos lose to the Kansas City Chiefs, which never came close to happening because Denver scored 4 minutes into that game, and that was it. They led from that point on. So they routed the Chiefs 38-0. So Miami could have won 73-0 yesterday, and it wouldn't have mattered. They still weren't going to the playoffs. So Miami and Cincinnati were in the same boat. There was very little hope for us once Denver got their first touchdown because the backups in Kansas City did nothing, which, by the way, I guess kind of makes sense, Mo, because the actual Kansas City team barely won games this season when all the starters were playing. So I don't know what led us to believe that the backups were going to put on some sort of a show when the starters were barely winning games this season.
This is true. I don't know. I had no money on Carson Wentz.
And I didn't watch the game, so I have no idea what happened. But I saw going into the game, they were talking about starting the rookie like midway through the second half, and I was like, great. They also have no faith in Carson Wentz, and the game hasn't even begun yet, and they're talking about starting the kid halfway through the second half of that game. But of course, Mo, the story coming out of Miami is Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill pulled himself out of the game in the fourth quarter, not because of injury, Mo, because he was done.
He was done.
And then he decided after the game to let people know it was great playing here, but I got to go. Doors open. I got to do what's right for me. I got to do what's right for my family. Got to go. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but those were a lot of the words that he was saying in his post-game interview after the Dolphins lose their season finale to the New York Jets. Mo, as a Dolphin fan, I look at it and I have a couple of thoughts. Number one, if you're a Dolphin fan or you're a Tyreek Hill fan, to say that you didn't see this coming would be a lie. You'd be very naive. Tyreek's been in Miami 3 years, and to say that it's been a peaceful 3 years would just not be true. He had the police incident earlier this year, which I think was more on them and not on him. But he had the assault issue over the summer where he was arrested because he slapped a marina attendant in the back of the head. He had the issue last season where his name was in the headlines because, 3 months after he married his wife, he was divorcing his wife, but then he wasn't divorcing his wife. And then papers were filed wrong and his people filed divorce papers, but they weren't supposed to. And that was in the headlines for a second. Last season, he had the issue with the kids because he has X amount of kids with X amount of women. So that popped up in the headlines. He had another issue with assault for some random dude that popped up that he did do it, but it wasn't meant to be serious. Like, he's had these little things where he's had a noise with him his first 3 years in Miami. Nothing ridiculous. Obviously, I think the police thing to start off this season was probably the biggest out of all of those. But to sit here and say this morning that, Tyreek has had a perfectly quiet 3 years in Miami, that just wouldn't be true. Now, head coach Mike McDaniel talked about this a little bit. He was asked, why didn't Tyreek play in the fourth quarter? And he was pretty honest. He goes, I don't know. He goes, I was told he wasn't available. He goes, we were still trying to win a game at that point. On that first drive in the fourth quarter, the Dolphins cut the score to 5 before the defense gave up another Aaron Rodgers touchdown after that. So the Dolphins were back in the game at one point before they weren't in the fourth quarter. And Coach McDaniel was like, I don't know. I was told he couldn't go, so I was coaching the players that could go. He was then explained what Tyreek's comments were because he hadn't heard them at that point, or at least he claimed he hadn't heard them at that point. And Coach McDaniel was still pretty transparent. He was like, he goes, I'm not going to talk about something that I'm hearing secondhand. He goes, I'll go listen to the comments for myself. I'm going to go have a conversation with Tyreek myself. He goes, I'm also not going to sit here and blow out of proportion someone's comments, 20 minutes after a disappointing season and a disappointing loss to close out the season. He goes, people say things, people have moments. He goes, and I'm not going to match his emotion with my emotion. So conversations will be had, resolutions will be come to, and we'll move on and we'll go from there. And I kind of echo the same sentiments of head coach Mike McDaniel. At the end of the day, Mo, if Tyreek Hill no longer wants to be in Miami, then Miami should try to move him. Now, I say try to because you're looking at, he's not the highest paid wide receiver in the league. He just redid his deal. He's one of the highest paid wide receivers in the league, and he's 31 years old, and his game is the speed game. That's not an easy move, especially once you get past that 30-year mark and you're making the kind of money Tyreek Hill is making. Now, does that mean they can't move him? No, I'm sure they can move him. I'm sure they can find value out there for Tyreek Hill if they wanted to move him and if he ultimately decides he wants to move. But Mo, my first takeaway is where are we in a week? Because you're looking at a guy who has never missed the playoffs in his entire NFL career. First time he hasn't made the playoffs. You're looking at a guy that, generally speaking, every season he's been in the league, he's been revered as a top 1, 2, or 3 wide receiver in the league. That's what he was his first 2 years in Miami. He was nowhere near that this season. So for Tyreek Hill, and I'm not defending him, I'm just saying facts, Mo. You're looking at someone who's never missed the playoffs and who's never been considered anything but a top 3 receiver in the league. And this year he misses the playoffs and was never in the conversation as one of the best receivers in the league this season because he doesn't have the numbers for it. So I imagine there's a lot of soul searching involved there. Now, was that what he should have done at the end of the game? No, I think that was a little immature of the 31-year-old Tyreek Hill. He has every right, Mo, to sit here and say, I got to do what's best for me and my family. I got to do what's best for business. If this is what the next 2 years in Miami are going to look like, I don't want to be a part of this. You have every right to say that. Just like the Dolphins have every right to say, we got you for the next 2 years, buddy. You're not going nowhere.
Correct.
We'll put this price tag on you. And if we get it, we're open to moving you. If we don't get it, you're not going anywhere. Like, there's a lot more going on here. And Tyreek doesn't necessarily have the leverage in this situation to be making trade demands. So I do think cooler heads will prevail. I think a lot of this has to do with the health of Tua Tagovailoa. Obviously, Tyreek didn't come to Miami to have Snoop Huntley not even throw him balls, because everything that Snoop threw yesterday was 3 feet over the receivers' heads. So I get it. Tyreek didn't sign up for that. You would assume that Tua's hip will be good to go at the start of next season. And as long as we can keep the concussion things under wraps, we hope that Tua can mostly play a healthy season next year. But for me, Mo, I look at it and I say, immature response, heat of the moment, with a guy who had never dealt with this before. He had never dealt with a season where he wasn't considered one of the best receivers in the league. He had never dealt with a season where he didn't have top receiver numbers, and he had never missed the playoffs in his entire life in the NFL. And then they throw a microphone in front of his face at the end of the game, and he just didn't handle it well.
Watching him make his comments, that was the first thing that came to my mind. I was like, the guy's had a frustrating season. And look, what I would say though about Tyreek, what I didn't like is that he's a smart guy. Part of the reason why you didn't have a great individual season is because your starting quarterback missed a significant amount of time. I mean,
he mentioned that. Well, you watched him, like he didn't go into that planning to say that, I don't think. Like, it almost like he said the first thing and then like he opened the door and I feel like he just had to like kind of step through it. Like, right. It didn't feel like he walked into that post-game comments being like, I'm going to say I want to trade. Like, it felt like it just kind of like materialized while he was speaking.
I felt like in the moment, it's sort of like when people press send but don't want to press send, but they do it like involuntarily. I think that's what he did. He just kind of like, it just spilled out of him and he didn't have an exit plan. No. Look, he just kept going, and I'm sure somebody was in the back like, get him out of there.
Shut it down.
Right. Cut his mic. Look, he's a terrific player. They had a down season. He, as an individual talent, didn't get his customary numbers, and that's got to frustrate him. He's always been mentioned, like you said, as one of the 3 best receivers in all of football. And this particular season, he's not ranked anywhere near there, and he's not probably, I have to assume he's not making a Pro Bowl, which is really frustrating for somebody like him, just to have that honor, that accolade that he's been getting pretty much his whole career. I think it's a combination of things that kind of boiled out of him, but I like what your head coach said. That's what your leader should say. That's a good head coach saying, I'm not going to match his anger, his energy, and frustration with mine. I'm going to give him some time. We're going to have a conversation, and we'll go from there. And I'm with him. Like, I don't think in the end that Tyreek Hill is going to be leaving the Miami Dolphins. I don't think that at all. I know what he said, but my gut feeling is it's what he said. I don't even think it's what he meant. I just think he got caught up in the moment and kind of lost himself. So I know it's going to be the talk of the NFL media for the next week or so, but I think in the bigger picture, it's much to do about nothing. I think Miami will come back fully healthy. I think they'll have a top 5 offense, and the mission in the offseason, aside from getting Tua right, is getting the defense right to match what the offense can do. But I think they're going to be fine.
And a backup quarterback who can actually play football.
Yes, and a backup quarterback, which, by the way, very important position, 100%, and a functioning backup quarterback. So yeah, I get it. It made headlines. It's going to be the talk of football for the next week or so. In the end, do I think Tyreek Hill's not going to be a member of the Dolphins? No, he's going to be there. It'll be water under the bridge when it's all said and done.
I want Russell Wilson. I want Sam Darnold. I don't care what we got to pay. Go pay $20 million for a backup. Go get a competent backup quarterback, Mo, because we can't do this crap again where it's a rotating door of guys that really shouldn't be backup quarterbacks.
I think Russ would be a great backup quarterback.
Right? Come on.
I mean, I know. I'm sure he's like, I'm not trying to be a backup. I'm just saying though, give me a hell of a backup. Even if it's one of them deals where Tua is just going to miss a couple of games because it's like a nagging injury and Russ can fill in. Like, is that a bad way to end a good career if you're a backup quarterback on a team that goes on an incredible deep run, maybe even to the Super Bowl, and you're a part of it, as opposed to, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know that sounds storybook, but I think Russ would be a good fit.
I don't think he's going back to Pittsburgh.
I don't either. And I've watched the Steelers over the last few weeks. Their offense isn't good, but Russell Wilson's not the problem. He's not. They don't have a lot of talent on the offensive side of the football. They come into every game, Chris, with this really small margin for error. Like, things have to play out a certain way. Their defense has to be dominant. Their offense has to be functioning, not in an explosive way, but their offense is one of them offenses. They're looking to get you 20 points a game, right? Like, that's kind of what they do. And a lot of those 20 points, it comes from the defense. So I think Russ has had a similar season to what he had in Denver, right? Last year. He's been I would call him a good game managing quarterback. And the difference between him, and it escapes me, the young man that's backing him up that they're competing.
Justin Fields.
The difference between him and Justin Fields is the truth of the matter is Russ can throw the ball down the field. All Justin Fields does is do checkdowns. He can run and he's incredibly athletic, but he's a checkdown guy. And so I don't think that he's really a starting quarterback himself. So but I think you're 100% right. When it's all said and done, unless the Steelers can go on a run that I don't see them going on, yeah, Russ is going to be one and done, but I still think people will want his services.
And yeah, the Steelers are in the playoffs. Yes, the Steelers are facing the Ravens. No, I do not think there's any chance in hell that the Pittsburgh Steelers beat the Baltimore Ravens in the playoffs. So they're going to be one and done in the playoffs. And it's going to be, their 5th straight loss or 6th straight loss or whatever it is at this point. And it's just going to be an ugly finish to what was, a promising season. It wasn't that long ago. They were 10-3.
Right.
And they looked like they were going to walk away with the North, and they had already beaten the Baltimore this season. And to finish off the season, 10-7 and limping into the playoffs. And I think they're going to get shellacked
by
Baltimore.
I agree. But you called this. Remember, there was this window where we said, here comes these big groupings of games.
They better beat the Browns and the Bengals because we didn't know if they were going to win another game after that. And they didn't.
And they did, right. You literally called that. Like, they had to get those wins. They had to stack those wins because you're like, I don't know about some of the others. They're just bad matchups. And they didn't even stack those wins.
Yeah. So, and, man, like, how do you feel if you're the Bengals this morning? I mean, first of all, everyone wants to go back to week 1 and just be like, if you beat the Patriots week 1, you would have made it. I get it, but Burrow was coming off there was a lot going on week 1 for you to go back that far. I go back to the Steelers game. I go back to the Steelers game and say, had you just beaten the Steelers in that game? And that was right before the Steelers went on their slide, because it was the Bengals, then it was the Browns after that, and they had just lost to the Browns prior to playing the Bengals. So coming off that Browns loss, we sat here on this show, and I said, this is a good spot for the Bengals, and they couldn't get the job done. And the Bengals end up, that one win short of making the playoffs. Mo, looking at the MVP race, I lean Lamar this morning. How does he win it last year
and
then blow it out of the water with his numbers this year? Like, how? There's no way.
And even though you want to look at the records, well, Buffalo's record's not. It's not. They're like right there where the Ravens are.
They
right?
both won their division.
Right. And Lamar Jackson. Let's just be real, because I know how the voters have their favorites. This version of Lamar was better than last year's version of, he's better. And as good as Josh Allen's season is, by the numbers, Lamar blows the doors off of him too. I think Lamar Jackson should be the MVP. Look, Lamar Jackson should be the. I get it. Josh Allen's had an amazing year, and if you want to make the argument, well, Lamar has more talent off it. He does. At least behind him in the backfield, he does. I don't know if the Ravens have great receivers. Dave Flowers is really good, and he's a playmaker. But I think the Bills have a receiver that's pretty equal to him in terms of production. So I think Lamar Jackson should win. That doesn't mean he's going to. My gut feeling is that Josh Allen's going to win. That's what I believe.
So Josh Allen, if you're looking at his numbers from 2024, let me pull that up real quick. So Josh Allen finishes the season 3,836 yards passing. He finishes the year with, what am I looking at here, Mo? 28 touchdowns. That's all he had?
No, he's got to have more than that.
Hang on a second, guys. Hang on. What am I looking at here? I don't know, Mo. Yeah, 28 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. There's no way. There's no way.
Yeah, I thought he had more than. I thought he had at least in the low 30s, somewhere in there. But that's what I thought.
No,
not to admit, and I know he's got plenty of running touchdowns this season.
He's got 28 passing touchdowns. He's got 6 interceptions. They went 13-4 this season, whereas Lamar's sitting over here with 41-4. There's no way. And let's look at his rushing stuff. Josh Allen rushing the football this season. He's got 531 yards rush. He's got 12. So that's where your big difference is. 531 yards rushing for Josh Allen, 12 rushing touchdowns. So when you combine those numbers together, you're taking the 28 and the 12. So he's got 40 combined touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Whereas Lamar Jackson on the ground,
he's got more rushing yards already. I already know he's got more rushing yards.
He's a little less. He's got 474.
Really? I'm shocked. I've never seen him run for less than that. Wow.
He's a little less. He's got 474 on the ground. No, I lied. He's got 915. So
that sounds like Lamar Jackson.
He's got 400 more yards rushing than Josh does, but he's got 8 less touchdowns. But when you combine that with his passing touchdowns, he's got 45. So I don't know. How do they give it to Josh Allen? With Lamar, the only thing Josh has is 8 more rushing touchdowns, but he did it. He's got 400 less yards rushing. So he's doing the goal line work, which I'm not taking those away from him. Those are still touchdowns.
Right.
But when Lamar's got 5 more total touchdowns than Josh does, he has less interceptions. His completion percentage for Lamar is near 70. Josh is under 65. The only thing he's got him is those rushing touchdowns, but he's still 5 behind total. I think Burrow's got better numbers than Josh Allen.
Burrow does. I mean, look, but Burrow,
But
Burrow's going to get mentioned, but he has no shot at winning.
But if they made the wild card, would he have any chance?
I think he should have, because remember where they came from. like they had no. We were already talking about what they were going to do next year. Like, they were finished. And I the funny thing that happened, the NFL Genius told us this heading into the season, that Joe Burrow was injured and was concerned about the wrist. And I actually thought over the course of the season, he got healthier. He got strong. He got stronger. He started looking more like Joe Burrow. He got stronger. And you're right. I think if they had made the playoffs, I'd really be tempted to look Joe Burrow's way. You can make an argument in the second half of the season, Joe Burrow was better than both Lamar and Josh Allen.
Joe Burrow passed for almost 5,000 yards this season. Joe Burrow was at 4,918. That's 1,200 more passing yards than Josh Allen. That's almost 1,000 more passing yards than Lamar Jackson. Joe Burrow has 43 touchdown passes. That's more than Josh and Lamar. That's head and shoulders more than Josh Allen. 9 interceptions, so he's got more picks than the two of them, but he's still single digits in the picks. And obviously, he doesn't have the rushing numbers that either of them have. But he completed almost 71% of his passes. He had a better completion percentage by far than both of them. Like I said, Josh is under 64%. Lamar is actually just under 67%. Burrow is almost at 71%. So he was the more effective passer as well compared to the two of them. The only difference is his team was terrible at 9-8, as both of them are winning their divisions.
Right.
And then, of course, the running backs kind of fizzled. Derrick Henry finishes with, 1,921 yards, I think he had. And then Saquon Barkley, 2,005. What do you make of the Eagles not playing Saquon? I was highly disappointed. I get it. And when you say what they said, you can't argue with it. And I know if we get Gene on here on Wednesday, I think he's going to side with the Eagles. Yeah. Because Gene wants champ. I get it. Yeah. But I don't think the Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl. So
look, as a fan, I'm talking about as a fan of the game, I wanted him to go for it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel like we're at a point now in all sports where if you have a chance to break a record, or they're like, well, we want to make sure he's healthy, they'll go with we want to make sure. You know what I mean? Like, that takes off some of the luster. Like, look, Saquon Barkley will go on to have a really good career. I don't know when it's all said and done, he's going to be like, well, he's one of the 5 greatest running backs of all time. He might not. I'm going to assume he won't be, but he could have had a record that would have stood many, many years. Do you know what I mean? Like,
that would have put him in that conversation.
Yeah, I think it could have shifted those gears, because that matters. Dickerson's record has stood. When did he do that? Like in late 80? Like, it's been a minute. And when you get a chance to break that, look, I'm not going to argue with the Eagles' brain trust. I get it. We want to make sure this guy is healthy because we're trying to win a Super Bowl. Man, but if I'm just talking about as a fan, I remember when dudes would go for it, and it was disappointing. It was just disappointing from that standpoint. And here's the bigger picture that you just pointed out. What if they don't win the Super Bowl? What if you don't win the Super Bowl? I know that's the bigger picture, but if you don't win the Super Bowl, could have had that record at least. I mean, I'm just saying, because the record, it isn't just Saquon's record. It's also that offensive line's record. It matters. You know what I mean? Like, it's a big deal that way. But I'm not going to argue with anybody that says, hey, they rested him because, you want this guy healthy. Like, I can't really argue with that logic. I was just disappointed.
I wish they would have started him just to see what that first quarter felt like. I'm not saying go out there and run him 30 times into the ground and let the Giants defense just beat the crap out of him. I'm saying start him, give him a few touches on the first drive, see what it looks like out there. If it looks like they aren't going to be giving up the running yards today, if it looks like the run defense is stout today, be like, you know what, Saquon, we gave you 7 carries. You got, 16 yards out of it. Right. It ain't there today. And we're not going to sit here and have you get pounded into the ground for the next 3 quarters.
Facts.
When you're probably going to end up with, 58 yards rushing and a beat down that you don't need to take. That's the approach I would have taken. At least then, because again, I mean, the one family there, they had the big sign. We traveled over 1,000 miles to see Saquon break the record. He didn't even play the game.
Right.
Like, I get it. Like, you have bigger things on the line. And I know I'm not going to win this argument with a single Philly fan.
No doubt.
Because all of y'all think you're winning the Super Bowl and you need Saquon to do that. So I get it. I'm not winning the argument. But I look at it like you do, Mo, from a fan perspective. And I tuned into the game to watch that. And when I saw he wasn't playing, I turned the game off. I didn't turn it back on.
Right.
Because I didn't care at that point. So from a straight fan perspective, I was there to see the record. And then I wasn't there because there was no record to be taken.
Right. And you make a great point. If they say, hey, we're going to put you on a pitch count. We're going to let you play the first quarter. We're going to see what you do in our first couple of drives. And depending on what you do, production-wise, we're going to be like, I don't know. What if Saquon rips off a 65-yard run?
Now
you know what I mean? Right, because then you're going to be like, he just ripped off a 65-yard run. We could probably get the record before halftime. Like, I know we can drive this into the ground, but you did what I did. I knew he wasn't going to play. I didn't even turn on the game because I was like, I'm not watching that. I already know who's going to win, but I'm not watching. I was only watching it because I wanted him to get the record, and then I wanted him to hand the game ball to the Giants GM.
Let's go.
That's what I wanted.
The Cleveland Browns fire offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey because it's his fault. He's the reason, Mo. He's the reason things didn't get done in Cleveland this year.
He didn't give Dorsey. He didn't give him that contract. He didn't give Watson that contract.
Get Ken Dorsey out of here. He's the reason things didn't work out. Come on now.
Let's keep it a buck, Chris. Ken Dorsey, they gave him maybe the worst quarterback room in the history of the NFL to work with.
And said, go make it happen.
Right, and go win us some football games. No running game. No running game at all. And you wanted him to have an explosive offense. We can have this conversation over and over and over, and you know better than anybody. If you don't have a quarterback, your offense is not going to be very good, period. I don't care what the game plan is. If you don't have a quarterback, you're not going to win football games, period. I didn't understand the Dorsey firing. I didn't. I really didn't. I thought that was disappointing because they know damn well they don't have a quarterback. They know that. If anybody should have been fired, the GM should have been fired.
Right. And I don't think Stefanski should have been fired either. Because, again, what's he going to do? You gave him a really terrible quarterback situation.
This is true.
What is Stefanski going to do? He's going to make the best he can out of it with what he's got. It's not like he has a prime franchise quarterback under center and they're losing games as a result of it. He has a shell of what we thought was a franchise quarterback when he was in Houston. Turns out he's not. And then they got a bunch of backups that aren't very good. DTR, Jameis Winston. Last year it was a revolving door at backup quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. Next year it's probably going to be a revolving door because I'm not convinced that, Deshaun Watson can stay healthy or be effective over the course of an entire season to be the starter the entire season. So, I think someone had to get fired, which is a whole nother conversation, Mo. But this whole idea that, like, to fix things, we have to fire people. What?
We get rid of the problem. Right. That's what you're telling the fan base. Like,
Dorsey's out of the room.
we took care of it.
He was holding us back. Now we're going to bring in someone who can unlock this offense and take us to brand new heights in 2025.
You better draft a quarterback. And look, let me say this about Jameis Winston, because he's an anomaly. He's not devoid of talent. We know this. He's just one of those guys that I guess if I were making a baseball analogy, he's not a starting pitcher. He's kind of like a change of pace pitcher. Like, Jameis could be really good in short spurts.
He's Bartolo Colon.
I love that. See, you get it.
Always entertaining,
Right,
always
right.
going to get a show. He might hit a home run when he gets up
Right.
to bat in the National League. He might be, 3 outs from a no-hitter once or twice a season. And he's also going to have 6 starts where he gives up, 5 runs in the second inning and doesn't see the
Right.
third. Like,
Right.
but he's a gamer. He's ready to go every 5 days.
Right.
He's never hurt. The team likes him.
Oh, and the guy can talk up a storm. Like
That's right.
he's entertaining as hell. Like I don't think Jameis is ever going to have a problem finding a job because everybody knows the resume that the guy can play. It's just that it is an amazing roller coaster ride. He could throw 4 touchdown passes in the first half, and you guys go, "We're going to blow this team out." And then you find yourselves tied in the fourth because he threw 5 interceptions in the second half. That's the Jameis Winston experience.
And he never frowned or threw a helmet or broke an iPad along the way. Same bubbly personality from
Right.
start to finish.
Right.
He is going to be money as a TV analyst when his playing career is over.
You know what? I like that you said that because
Money.
right. If Dan Orlovsky can be as good as he is, Jameis is going to be showtime.
Absolute money. The Miami Dolphins announced that their head coach and their general manager are both coming back, to the chagrin of Dolphin fans. Oh my gosh, it was doomsday on Bleacher Report yesterday when it was announced. Oh my god, so dramatic.
I like your head
so
coach.
dramatic. I say this. Obviously, Mike McDaniel is very much tied to this Tua Tagovailoa situation. If Tua is the quarterback in Miami, Mike McDaniel is going to be the head coach in Miami. He has gotten the best version out of Tua that I think anyone is going to get. So as long as Tua is the guy, I think Mike McDaniel is going to be the head coach. As far as the general manager in Miami goes, well, he's not the best. He's not the worst either. Like, he's had some hits, he's had some misses. I mean, again, I go back to the whole idea, Mo, of the firing people for the sake of firing people because you feel like that's the way you need to make change. That's not the way you need to make change. If someone's bad at their job, fire them. If somebody is mediocre at their job and there's a better person on the horizon who you can get in there, fire them. If someone is good at their job but not great, and you're sitting there at the end of the season being like, what should we do to change going into next season? Don't start just firing people because you feel like that's the change. Like, you can change things with the same people you have in the building and take different approaches. Or you can say, you know what? No, I trusted your gut last season when you said, let's go O-line, and I wanted to go secondary. Well, this year we're going to go second. Like, you can do those kinds of things that change the direction of a team. You don't actually have to start firing people to do that. So all along, I said, Miami's having a down season. A lot of it's because of Tua. Firing the coach or the GM isn't going to fix any of that. Tua's got to be healthy. So Miami's bringing back their people. So we'll see what happens. The Titans clinched the number 1 overall pick in the 2025 draft. Which
was there for a doubt?
Well, the Giants are there for a minute. But it's interesting, Mo, because now we're getting the draft stories. Shedeur Sanders not given a first-round grade by several NFL analysts as we get ready for the draft. Many NFL insiders saying that they would not draft Shedeur with a first-round pick, regardless of where they pick in the NFL draft. Mo, I get it. He may not be a first-round quarterback. But you know where he's going to go? In the first round. Because what happens in the NFL at the quarterback position is once you get into that war room, all logic goes out the window because you can talk yourself into any quarterback if you need one badly enough. And we can go back through the last 5 or 6 drafts, Mo, And we can look at guys and say he probably wasn't a first-round pick. He definitely wasn't a top 5 or a top 10 pick. But he still went in the top 5 or the top 10 because they needed a quarterback. And there wasn't going to be a better option in round 2. So you get the quarterback first because that's what you do in the NFL. So, no, Shedeur is not going to fall to the second round. That's not going to happen. So he's going to go somewhere in the first round. I don't know if he's going to be the first overall pick of the draft. I don't know if he's going to be a Tennessee Titan next year, but he might be because I don't know if Will Levis should be the starting quarterback of the Tennessee Titans next season, though.
He should not. He should not. I think that's the one thing I know about the Titans. I don't know everything about the Titans, but I know they don't have a starting quarterback. What they have is a pretty good backup, and his name is Will Levis, but he's a backup, not a starter. I'm with you. I don't know if I can't say that out and out Shedeur Sanders is going to be a franchise quarterback, but what I can say is he is talented. He might be one of those guys who might need to sit a year or two, but I think the guy can play. A lot of people, I remember just this last draft we had, were laughing when the Falcons drafted Michael Penix. I wasn't one of them. I was like, that. I thought it was a great move. I get why people are going crazy because they just gave Cousins the money, but I was like, there's nothing wrong with drafting the guy for the future. It's not like Cousins is young. So I get it. I think that Shedeur has value. Maybe the Titans will bypass him and try to go get an edge rusher. I'm of the mindset in this era, in this NFL, you have to have a quarterback. You have to start there. If you go out and get a guy who can get you 16, 18 sacks, that's amazing. That's elite. That could change your defense. He's not playing quarterback. You still got to score. And I think quarterback comes first. I think Shedeur Sanders is going to be a first-round pick. I'm with you. All this hitting right out this way or that. The kid can play. I don't know whether or not he's going to go in the top 5, but if he falls, I'm going to say this right now, and I don't give this guy a lot of credit. If Shedeur falls, John Lynch will pick him up.
You know he will. Mo, quick look at the NFL draft. The Titans are 1. They need a quarterback. The Browns are 2. They need a quarterback. Let's just call it what it is. The Giants are 3. They need a quarterback.
Yes.
The Patriots are 4. They have a quarterback. The Jaguars are 5. They have a quarterback. The Raiders are 6. They need a quarterback. The Jets are 7. They need a quarterback. And then I would argue, do the Saints need a quarterback?
Yes.
Okay, there you go. So
I know you Derek Carr fans. You're like, are you crazy? I was like, no, are you crazy?
So that is 6 of the first 9 teams need a quarterback. So again, and this is always my opinion going into the NFL draft, unless you love the quarterback. If you are the Tennessee Titans, trade the damn pick. Trade it to one of those teams that desperately wants that quarterback or their pick of the quarterbacks. Get a haul, move down 2 or 3 spots, and get the second best quarterback, or get a bunch of other stuff that you need, because Tennessee isn't one quarterback away from making the playoffs.
Right.
So, but again, like, unless if you are the Titans and you're sitting here saying Shedeur he's a franchise player, we need him, he is the future, like, fine, take Shedeur Sanders or whoever it is. But if you're sitting here looking at the quarterback class in this draft and you're not convinced that one of them is the guy for the next 10 or 15 years, then don't take him. Trade down 1 or 2 spots. You're still going to get a quarterback that may or may not be the guy, but you're going to get so much draft capital back for trading that pick that you're going to help your team so much more, Mo, than just keeping the pick and still rolling the dice on someone that you don't know whether or not they're going to be the guy for the next 10 or 15 years.
I love your idea. I think that if
no one ever does it.
All right. Yeah, imagine that. But I love your idea that unless you go like, no, that's our guy. we're going to keep the pick. We're getting our guy. But if you sit there and go like, well, the guy that we like isn't really, we don't know if he's any better than the guy that's like 5th or 6th. You know what I mean? Like I'm going your route. I am trading that pick because there's somebody that they've made up their mind. They've got a quarterback in mind that they're in love with. I'm making that deal, getting a haul, and I'm still going to be able to draft the 2nd or 3rd best quarterback in the class. That's what I'm doing.
The Jets or the Giants would jump at that. You're telling me the New York Jets, who have not made the playoffs in 15 seasons, the longest playoff drought in all of American sports history currently right now, the New York Jets, they don't want Shedeur Sanders. They don't want their pick of quarterbacks. They don't want to just get rid of this Aaron Rodgers nonsense. Will he, won't he? Will he retire? If he does come back, how many more? You don't think they want to start fresh and just go get what they think could be the franchise guy? They're drafting 7th. You don't think the New York Giants at 3 want to just turn the page on all this nonsense and actually get a quarterback in there? Or Drew Luck's not their guy. Drew Luck's not the guy, Mo. They want to get a quarterback in there. Like, you don't think the Cleveland Browns sitting at 2 aren't looking to get a quarterback in there? Come on. They'll jump at the opportunity to go get number 1 from you.
Oh, in a heartbeat. I mean, and it's weird, right? Because it's not like Cleveland can get rid of Deshaun Watson, but we talked about this. You're just going to have the most expensive backup quarterback in the history of the league. But so be it. If you know you need a quarterback and you go target somebody and go, that's our guy, you go and get it. Like, I'm with you. I think the Tennessee Titans have more power than they realize. They really do with this
and
pick.
Listen, if when Cleveland calls you, if they say Deshaun Watson, you just say click. That's it. That's all. So,
we're willing to make a deal, but what about Deshaun? Click.
That's it. Next.
Get him,
Cleveland wasn't it. Who's up next?
Get them back on the line. Get them back on the line. Like, yeah, I'm with you 100%. I think anybody that's entertaining taking on that contract, that GM fired.
Correct. The Buccaneers clinched their 4th consecutive NFC South crown, 5th straight playoff appearance for the Bucs.
The Baker train
is in full effect. Mike Evans brings in his 11th straight 1,000-yard season, tying Jerry Rice for the most consecutive 1,000 receiving seasons. Listen, we'll have a conversation at a future date as to where Mike Evans ranks amongst the greatest wide receivers of all time, but there is something to be said for consistency and longevity, and that is what you have with Mike Evans. I'm rooting for the Bucs. I might be a Bucs fan for this playoff run because I love me some Baker train.
Baker train. We're both on the and look at Baker's numbers. Oh my goodness. Like in maybe another season, he would be an MVP.
He could be an MVP candidate.
Yes. Look, I'm here for it. And the Mike Evans things is really interesting. And I think that Mike Evans, and I've thought about this, I think his consistency, his professionalism, I think all that should count. I don't know where he's going to rank all time, but I will say this. I would say that Mike Evans, the wide receiver, is the equal of Curtis Martin, the running back.
Ooh, I like that a lot. In case you guys don't know, Baker Mayfield completed 71.4% of his passes, 4,500 yards even, 41 touchdowns, but he did throw 16 interceptions. That's what you get with Baker. He tries to squeeze. He's Brett Favre. He's a lesser arm talented version of Brett Favre.
But he's every bit the gamer.
He's got all the same moxie that Brett Favre had.
Right.
Mo, let's close on this. The New England Patriots fire Gerard Mayo following a 4-13 season. I think this is ridiculous. I think this is disgusting.
What did you expect him to do? Like, they had the least talented offensive football in the NFL. That's saying something because we're talking about how bad the Steelers offense is, how bad the Giants offense is. The Patriots offense was worse. Not because of their rookie quarterback who does have talent. They don't have anything. There are no playmakers on the outside. There's no running game. They also have one of the worst offensive lines. And you want Gerard Mayo to make magic out of that in year one as a head coach.
In a division with Josh Allen, Aaron
Right.
Rodgers, and Tua Tagovailoa.
Right. In a quarterback-driven league, you got a young quarterback who you have no weapons around him. You say, go out and win football games. To do that to somebody who came up in your system, who's
Well, that's
been
the
part
other
of your
part of it.
family.
And not even though the fact that he's a first-year rookie head coach.
Right.
He is someone that's been in your organization for nearly 20 years. He got his coaching career started in your organization. You gave him the first shot at a head coaching gig. And after 1 year, you're going to pull the plug on it and still put out this bullshit thing about family and, Patriot family and all that. What is actually going on? Who do you already have your next head coach lined up? Like, do you know who it's going to be? Do you know something we don't know? I don't know. I looked at it and I saw Gronk on TV. He was going to try to unload and go off, and they cut the commercial real quick.
They did.
Cut Gronk off because he was upset about it.
Gronk was about to get fired.
He was. It looks shady. It looks it's not on the up and up, because what you're saying and the history of this franchise and the way they take care of people that have shown loyalty doesn't match what you did. And you're trying to feed us something that we, as people with two eyes, look at and go, that doesn't make sense. So until we figure out what is actually going on, we kind of feel like we're being lied to. And why are we being lied to? Is it a personality thing? Do you just not like the vibe that he was like? It could be something as simple as that. And I get it. You don't want to go out there and say that it was a personality or a vibe thing.
But you know him.
I know.
You know him. I think it's as shady as this. You leaned into it a little bit. I think they already have a guy in mind. I think they already
have to.
I think they already know someone's available or going to be available. You know who I'm talking about. A couple of these OCs. I don't want to say any names, but they've made up their mind. They go, we've seen enough for a year of that. We're gonna go. They already have a guy, and they made up all this BS about family and all, and they literally kicked the guy that's supposed to be family out the door after 1 year.
Yeah, it's shady to me. I'm not a big fan of it. I'm also not a big fan of firing black head coaches. So let me throw that out there as well, because the Patriots were lauded for hiring a black head coach, and I'm sorry, but you don't get the love and praise a year ago and then not have to take some of the backlash a year later when you fire the guy after one season.
Because to me, when he took the job, because Mayo came up in the system, he knew already we don't have a lot of talent. We don't have a large margin for error. I think in the back of his mind, Chris, he had to believe they're going to give me 2 or 3 seasons to try to do something with this, because there's no way they thought in year one, bro, if you don't win 9 or 10 games, you're out of here. Like
right? Because who takes
really?
the job at that point? No one.
Exactly.
No one.
Exactly. They literally set him up for failure, and they did that because I do think eventually he's going to be a good. I don't think he's a bad head coach. I think they've made up their mind that there's going to be a couple of guys, some of these bigger name offensive coordinators that are going to come free, and they want them. And look, I can't tell you not to take who you want to get, but the way you're going about it is shady.
Mo, it's almost like they didn't get the coach they wanted last cycle,
so they settled.
So they went with the story. They went with the home kid. And they said it's going to look great in the press. The fans are going to love it. It's an easy sell.
Right.
And now they think they can get the guy. So because he didn't do anything as a head coach, 4-13, it's another easy sell. We didn't do well. No, it's not an easy sell. You look terrible. So like I said, we'll know a lot more once they hire their next head coach as to what that looks like. And if it is one of those OCs that we were just talking about, I think that's what it was. I think they thought some guys were going to come loose last season that didn't come loose, that weren't interested, that weren't available, and now they think they're going to be. So that's why they're going to fire Gerard Mayo. And if I'm Mayo, how does this not sour your 18-year relationship with the team? Like, I can't go back anytime soon.
No, you can't go back. But I think he knows that he's learned the hard way the nature of the beast.
That's crazy.
He's gonna take the high road. He's gonna say thank you for the opportunity, such and such and such and such, because he still wants to be a head coach in the National Football League. So yeah, you got to kind of take it on the chin. I'm sure when he goes home to his family, it's very personal. It's got to be very personal. I literally grew up in your organization, and I hate that it ended this way. I just think he should have got a real chance to be their head coach. Like when you hire a rookie head coach and you've got a young quarterback, and you can tell you're literally at the beginning of a rebuild. That guy's got to get 5 years, at least 3 to 5 years. You at least got
one.
Right.
All right, Mo, take us to the close, sir.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. Hope you guys had a happy holidays. Make sure you check out all the great content we have at Wire to Wire Network. Wire to Wire Network, we appreciate you.
Hey, we're coming back tomorrow, same time, same place. We got more NFL stuff to talk about. We are going to continue to talk about the coaching changes happening in the NFL. Plus, we're going to start breaking down the upcoming wild card weekend matchups. All of that and more. Coffee and Sports. It's the morning show, powered by Wire to Wire.